Welcome back. So in the last lesson, we created this trigger box that adds physics to all of those cardboard boxes. We add a little bit of force to the bottom box, and this occurs every time we enter the trigger. So if I press play, I'll walk into that trigger, and it adds force. But if I exit and walk back in again, we'll see that my big box there just does some weird ghost maneuvers because of the fact that it's adding force every time I enter that trigger. So we're getting lots of weird kind of effects of it continually adding force to that object. I don't want that to happen. I want that to just happen once and never again. So I'm going to add a new node to this trigger that's going to enable something to happen only once. So if I open my box trigger and I've got my begin overlap, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out and move these things out of the way. And we're going to add a new node here called do once. And do once will do exactly what it says. It's just going to do this action once, and then it won't happen again, even if I overlap multiple times. There's a reset trigger, so that if I wanted to reset this when I exited the trigger, if I wanted to reset this under certain conditions, you can call that reset and it'll act as if it has never happened. And then there's a Boolean if you want it to start as if it's happened once, so that you need to reset it before it works. But for what we're doing, we just want to have it start open, and we're going to call our do once. And here we go. Save, compile. And now when I play and enter that trigger, entering the trigger causes the physics to happen and it falls. But when I exit and enter the trigger again, I'm not going to get that physics over again. So I'm not going to get that physics repeated over and over again every single time I enter that trigger. It's just going to happen once, and then physics is just going to be on from then on for me to push these things around. We're going to add one more cool feature before we move on to looking at more complex elements using Sequencer. This cool new thing that we're going to add is popular in a lot of games, screen shake. So to add that, I'm going to go back to my trigger. Here's my do once, where I do my individual loop elements that we're going to be working on. And what I'm going to do is when I add that impulse force to move the boxes, I'm going to come off of that node, and I'm going to go ahead and add a new node that's going to work with camera shake. So here's a play world camera shake. Play world camera shake is just going to cause us to shake the camera in a specific way, and we'll be able to choose the epicenter of where that camera shake is going to happen, where it's going to occur, and we'll be able to determine how strong it is and how it affects the camera. So to set that epicenter, to set that point where it's going to be, we need to set the location in world space. So I'm going to set it around my boxes so that wherever my boxes are, anybody who's close to those boxes are going to see the camera shake occur. So I'm going to grab my static mesh actor array here. I can get an actor. Once I get that, I'm going to get just one of them. So I'm just going to look at mesh 0, which is my big box, the biggest box that's on there. And that actor, I'm going to head and get its location. So here's get actor location. Get actor location is going to return back the value of where that actor is. So I can say that is the center of where this screen shake is going to occur. I can compile, I can save. So right now that screen shake is set up. If I go ahead and play and I walk into my object, I didn't see much screen shake, or I probably didn't see any at all, because we haven't defined how that screen shake is going to work. So we're going to need to create a new object that holds the data about our camera shake so that we can put that information into our project. I know it's a little confusing. In the past, blueprints have been about scripting, they've been about code, but blueprints are about data as well. They're about information that we're passing in. So the blueprint we're going to create now is just going to be a data blueprint. It's only going to hold information that we can use to define our screen shake. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a new blueprint class. And here, I'm going to need to search under all classes because I don't want an actor, because I don't want something that's in my world. I definitely don't want a pawn or a character. What I'm going to want is I'm going to want camera shake base. And so here's my camera shake base. We can get the default camera shake base if we want to use Perlin noise. Perlin noise is a really effective and nice looking way to add camera shake. I'm going to select that, and here's my new shake, so I'm going to need to give it a name, so I'm going to call it camera shake. And I'm going to make sure I do a save all before I get too far. All right, double click to open my camera shake, and here's my setting that I'm going to be able to set up. So in my details of my camera shake, I can set the information that my camera shake is going to be all about. I'm going to set my duration much larger now, so I'm going to set it for 5 seconds, right? Give it a little, a quick blend in time and a longer blend out time. I'm going to go to location, and we're going to adjust the frequency modifier. This multiplier is going to multiply all of these values under X, Y, and Z to be this value. So right now, if it's just at 1, we're only going to multiply on the X, or we're only going to shake on the X one time. So I'm going to take this multiplier and I'm going to multiply it up to 50 so that we shake a lot. Same idea with our rotation, so that our camera moves around. I'm going to move that all the way up to 50 so that we move a lot, or many times, I guess I should say. And then I'm going to change some of these amplitudes so that the amount at which we shake is a little higher. So in Unreal, Z is going to be my up and down, right? So I'm going to make my up and down be the most shake that I do. So I'm going to raise this maybe to something like 5, and I'm going to give it a couple more times that we shake up and down as opposed to the other directions. So I'm going to double that to 2. Under my rotation is how we're going to rotate around. I'm going to do my yaw, which is looking side to side, more than we do any of the others. So I'm going to set that to 2. And then I'm going to greatly increase that amplitude, how much we rotate. So I'm going to make that 5 times bigger. And then up here on the multiplier, I'm going to set the multiplier up to 10. I'm going to set my pitch also to pitch a lot more. So twice as many times, and 5 times on the amplitude. But I'm not going to do my roll as much as the others. So these larger values, setting for our location, especially our multiplier, and then setting up our duration to be a little longer, should make our camera shake a little more visible. So when I press play and I walk into my location, there we go. There's my crazy camera shake. Earthquake for 5 seconds, right? So I'm going to go back and change those way back. I think they're way too high. So again, these are all values that you're going to want to check out and see, how effective these are for what you're looking to do. It's definitely something that, depending on what you're shaking, you're going to want different amounts of camera shake. There we go. That's a much nicer value there. So here we go. If we walk in, we'll see a much nicer camera shake. So as we enter, a little earthquake knocks those off. Again, that's just setting these to the right values. That was the problem we were having, where it was, our camera was shaking, but it was really hard to see because we hadn't set these values to interesting numbers that they should be.